So another year has come and gone. I can say with certainty that it was far more eventful than last year. Mainly because not everything happened to be closed because of lockdown and similar occurrences prevalent from last year. Did this year turn out better altogether though, or was it just as blunderous as its predecessor? Let's analyze the facts to find out. First of all, let's bring up what I wanted at the end of last year. The first thing I mentioned was getting better exercise and adopting a less exorbitant diet, which I can say I failed at spectacularly. I can't even remember trying to do anything active or even morning stretches after the end of 2020, and my diet hasn't altered in the slightest. In fact, my job might have made things worse, what with unclaimed orders being free pickings for employees, and the only convenient way to eat on the job otherwise being junk food. On the positive side, I'm definitely moving around a lot more and lifting because of my job, so I guess it's a double-edged blade of sorts. Speaking of my job, there's another thing I wanted to happen last year. It's not ideal since it's not really in my field and I can't build much of a network or reputation from it, but I'm at least making good income. Unfortunately, I can't say anything positive at all for my progress in getting a significant other or compatible female friend to talk with regularly. The most I can say I've made in terms of progress is devising a plan and founding the Snuff organization, but I'm still not done with getting that ready yet. You'll know when I'm done. Now that the briefing and last year's goals have been acknowledged, let's go over this year's aspects, starting with things I didn't like. While I do like the fact that I have a pizza delivery job, there are things I have qualms with about the job. Mainly the hours I work. I feel like I've had little to no free time because of my job, and it has definitely been taking up most of my life recently. Those days where you have to pick up extra shifts and closing nights are the worst, which is made all the more common when you're as understaffed as our store. That should be changing soon enough since we've recently fallen under new ownership, and they really sound like they're going to be treating employees better, making work more convenient, paying us more, and getting more people to work. I wouldn't say I think badly of our previous owner, but I will say that Dennis was kind of a cheapskate when it came to keeping things in working order. He's not my boss anymore, so I don't feel bad about saying his name out loud. Besides, how would anyone find him from just his first name? On the subject of work, I've had catastrophic luck with automobiles this year. The roads I drive on for work are far too rough for a car with a low bottom, and getting stuck in the mud didn't help much either. And what happens after I exchange the car for a nicer one with more undercarriage space? Multiple tire issues. My bumper gets dented in while it's parked. I get rear-ended by some girl who claims her brother died as an excuse. Both headlights need to be replaced as well as a battery, and the tire pressure light on the console randomly comes on and will not turn off no matter what I do, which really bothers me. I guess it beats tearing up the undercarriage every time I have to drive, though. While these seem more like annoyances and not outright bad things, these are by far not the worst things about this year at all. As for what that is, we'll address that later. While I didn't have a whole lot of bad things to share this time around, there's not too much good I can share either. I've already talked about my job and how well I'm doing with my money, what with the giant pile of cash I'm constantly trying to shrink in my room. The most I can say aside from financial fortune is that I've gotten some pretty good summoning luck for Faye, gotten a new computer, and I've created so much fun content on YouTube this year. I think I can also count my first time ever finishing the extended cuts of the Lord of the Rings trilogy and almost all of the Hobbit trilogy as an accomplishment. I also suppose it was worth mentioning Cameron's birthday gathering, at which we enjoyed a one-shot D&D session as well as the second annual Birthmas tournament, which will be going up at the start of next year. Also, Nintendo Capri Sun watched and left a comment on my Pooh-themed Christmas song parody after I shared it with him, which made me really happy. Dare I say, so happy. Aside from those points, there's nothing worth mentioning that I haven't already said. Just small spots of fun and good fortune throughout the year. Moving on to our other noteworthy things that happened, One of the biggest of them was when I almost died on my birthday. In brief, to celebrate mine and Hierophant's birthdays, his brother came to our house and brought with him the One Chip Challenge. I thought I could handle anything spicy, but I didn't realize Carolina Reaper and Scorpion Pepper could close up your trachea, and that was just a piece of the chip. Let me just say, it was as bad as mustard gas according to multiple sources, and there's a good reason it came in a coffin-shaped box. Others may find such an experience traumatic, but I look back at it and laugh about how well and how bravely Hierophant and I handled the situation. Speaking of my brother-in-law Hierophant, he surprised me many times this year with how well he handled many things. He defeated the final boss of Banjo-Tooie without utilizing any overpowered cheats, something I have not yet done to this day. He also crit on a D100 in our one-shot session, which caused a divine being to come down and destroy the seed of an evil god for us. He even substantially impressed me with how well he performed in the Birthmas tournament, which you will all get to see soon enough. Speaking of games, I've accomplished little to nothing in the realm of Let's Playing this year since I've been distracted most of the year, mostly thanks to my job and computer issues. But I'd be lying if I didn't tell you half of those distractions came from me playing around with other games. Such titles include Sea of Thieves, until Forced PvP made me lose interest, No More Heroes, Disgaea 6, A Hat in Time, lovely title by the way, quickly becoming one of my favorites, Metroid Dread, lots of Moe trash, and more games for cultured individuals than you could shake a stick at. All of that said, there's one thing that happened this year that impacted me harder than anything, and is easily the most unpleasant experience I've had all year. As some of you may remember from the start of the year, I lost someone dear to me. My eldest cat, Blaze, was diagnosed with liver failure and was slowly losing all her energy. I made the heart-rending decision to let her go and have her put to rest. It was during this time that I learned that life doesn't always make it easy and let your loved ones pass peacefully in their sleep. Sometimes you have to be the one to make the call, and you'll never be certain whether or not you made the best choice. No one should ever have to make such a choice when it comes to one of their closest friends, who had essentially become an irreplaceable part of your life. Even now, I still remember that day and tears well up in my eyes. The doubt of my decision has continued to haunt me, but I remind myself from a quote from a wise fictional character, Albus Dumbledore, that spoke loudly to me. Do not pity the dead. Pity the living. It reminds me that death is simply an escape from the sorrows of life, and one day I'll see her along with all my loved ones when I move on as well. And I suppose in a way, the departed never truly leave for good. They still feel around in some way. Blaze's namesake still lives on in the Sonic game series, and there's a cat from a YouTube channel I'm subscribed to that reminds me much of her as well. I also feel like my late grandfather's spirit is by my side to comfort me as I write this part of my feelings here with my family on Christmas Day. One day, I'll get to see them all again as I too cross over to the great beyond. On a brighter note, let's look to the future and predict what 2022 has in store for me. Let's start with the most important aspect, girlfriend. Or just some compatible cute girl to talk to and hang out with regularly. I've got to get better at being able to talk to girls on my end too, and help with that would also be appreciated. I've got 2 VIP tickets to a concert next year, and I would like to share one with a little special someone if you catch my drift. Am I saying that to perhaps interest some cute viewer watching this? Absolutely! I mean, I need to be more bold since I'm turning 28 then, and I'll seriously be running out of time before I reach the untouchable age of 30. In which case my soul will fade away, leaving me a withered husk with no aspirations, hope, or joy. Depressing possible futures aside though, one thing I'd really like is having more free time from my job, and perhaps a new job entirely soon. I'd like something where I can work remotely, paid to write stuff I enjoy creating. That way, Kamazura and I could get a place to be able to record all the time, leaving room for a special partner for me, hopefully. Having some connections or opportunities open would be enough to help a lot, and I hope the good work ethic I've built up this year can help with that. So, that's basically all I have to say. I seriously hope I get a clear picture and opportunity to find a future I want to be a part of next year. Because, Lord knows I've waited for that bright future for far too long. If I should have to continue to wait, though, my only wish is that I'll no longer have to wait for it alone.